And in today's episode, among other things, you'll see this. Neuralink's artificial intelligence is transforming thoughts into speech in real time. And it showed this as if it were true technological telepathy. China showed its new robots called Wolfpack, carrying some pretty bad things on their backs. I won't say the name so the video doesn't get blocked. Palm-sized drones are equipped with ultralight sensors and mimic bats to navigate fog, smoke, and confined spaces. The Beijing Robot Marathon reaches a new scale in this 2026 edition. Okay? There will be 300 humanoid robots running without being controlled by any humans. Let's understand all of this and a few other things about technology. Hello, impressed viewers. I'm Realidade Impressionante, and you're watching Realidade Impressionante. And there's a technology that already works in more than 180 countries, and that many Brazilians are already using. It's Nomad. And I'll be straight with you, okay? It helps you stop losing money. Nomad converts your money to the currency of the country you're in, whether you're in Brazil or abroad. You open your account in just 5 minutes, get the virtual card, and then the physical one. You travel, shop online, or subscribe to foreign services with no hidden fees or surprises. Also note that Nomad launched Shaipi Awesome, an international service you activate upon arrival at your destination. It works on Android and iOS and gives you internet in more than 30 countries. And if you're a Nomad, PES level 1 to 4, you get 1 GB for free. Level 5. The internet is unlimited for 15 days, and Nomad is giving $20 in cashback to new customers. But it's only for those who open an account right now using the code R20 on their first transaction. Don't wait. Open your account now using the link in the description, the pinned comment, or the QR code on your screen. Get your cash back now and stop spending way more than you need to. And of course, you also help Realidade Impressionante keep bringing you the cutting-edge technologies you always love to see here. Help me and I'll help you, deal? This guy you're about to see here couldn't move, couldn't speak. But even so, now he can communicate. The impossible is happening right now, my friends. A patient with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, known as ALS, a disease that paralyzes the body but preserves the mind, was able to generate speech again just by using his thoughts and, of course, together with Neuralink's brain implant technology. In practice, the system captured the patient's brain activity and translated those signals directly into text and voice. Intent was being translated into language. And this was only possible thanks to the advances in this technology called brain-computer interface. Neuralink has been developing a device that is implanted in the brain and is capable of detecting the electrical signals generated by neurons. These signals, which would normally be impossible to interpret, are now processed by artificial intelligence, which learns to recognize the patterns and turn them into actions. Moving a cursor, typing, and now this latest feat, speaking. This is precisely where the breakthrough lies. Unlike traditional assistive technologies, which rely on some residual movement, like the eyes or muscles, this Neuralink system reads intent directly from the brain. In other words, it completely ignores the physical limitations of the body. And this completely changes the outlook for patients with severe neurological diseases. Until now, systems like eye tracking were slow, tiring, and limited. Expressing a simple idea could take minutes, and often communication was never complete. Now communication happens almost in real time, with more fluidity, more precision, and most importantly, more dignity. For doctors, this represents a transformation in clinical care. Patients can now describe their symptoms more clearly, also take part in decisions, and preserve their identity, even though their bodies are still compromised. But make no mistake, the impact of this doesn't stop at medicine. Because deep down, this technology isn't just restoring lost functions. It is creating a new form of interaction between humans and machines. Today, for now, we still use screens, keyboards, and voice assistants to communicate with technology. But this might just be a transition phase. Because when you can translate thought directly into action, technology stops being just an external tool and becomes an extension of your own mind. Of course, many challenges and limitations remain. Security, ethics, and reliability issues still need to be addressed. It's pretty obvious that the technology is still in its early stages, and its widespread adoption still depends on clinical validation and regulation. But one thing is already very clear. We are entering a new era. An era in which physical limitations can be overcome and not just treated, and in which artificial intelligence goes beyond just interpreting data and starts interpreting thoughts, my friends. How scary! What is known as telepathy is now starting to become a reality. But while technology is starting to restore human abilities that once seemed lost forever, there's another side to this same evolution that's taking a very different path. A path where intelligence isn't being used to heal or save lives, but instead is being used for combat. Unfortunately, right? Let's focus so we can understand. These ones here obviously weren't made for companionship and weren't made for cuddles. These robotic dogs were made for war. Well, China has introduced a new generation of quadruped robots equipped with real weaponry. But what has really caught people's attention is the way they operate. These robots don't act alone. A true pack. Multiple units are connected to a shared system, constantly exchanging information in real time and coordinating their actions like a single organism. In practice, this means they can move together, divide tasks, and make collective decisions during the operation. Some handle reconnaissance, others provide support, and others carry out direct attacks. All synchronized. And this goes beyond the ground. These systems can also be integrated with aerial drones, thus creating coordinated operations between air and ground, which is extremely efficient in urban scenarios where visibility and mobility are limited. During recent simulations, these robots demonstrated exactly that: group movement, adaptation to the environment, and execution of complex missions in a fully coordinated manner. Physical capability has greatly evolved too, my friends. Now they can reach speeds of up to 15 km/h, carry loads of up to 25 kilos, and operate on rough terrain, maintaining stability even in extreme conditions. In addition, they can be controlled in different ways, from traditional joysticks to voice commands or tactical interfaces attached to the operator. At least for now, there's still a human in control of the firing. The final decision still rests with a person. But that's not going to be permanent, because this system already demonstrates something that goes far beyond remote control: collective autonomy. They don't just execute commands, they interpret the environment, share data, and adjust their behavior as a group. And this completely changes the concept of combat. Instead of isolated machines, we now have connected systems. Instead of individual decisions, we now have distributed intelligence. And of course, this raises inevitable questions, just like any other technology. When multiple machines make decisions together, who is responsible for the outcome? And more than that, what happens when automated systems can react much faster than us human beings? How much time is left before human control over these machines is lost? The truth is that this kind of technology doesn't just represent a military evolution, it represents a paradigm shift. If you don't think things through, it may seem limited to the military environment, but in reality, this evolution is happening on another scale, a much larger scale, far beyond the battlefield. Let's understand all of this now.
No dia 19 de abril de 2026,
Beijing is going to host something that until recently seemed absurd, like science fiction. A half marathon with more than 300 humanoid robots running. Bipedal machines from 26 different brands facing a full course of more than 21 kilometers? I don't even run that much, wow. But this isn't just a spectacle, it's a real test. The first edition in 2005 served as a proof of concept so that the robots could manage to walk long distances. Now, the goal has changed. The 2026 race was redesigned to measure something much more important: robotic autonomy. For the first time, almost 40% of all these robots will be fully autonomous, able to navigate, make decisions, and adjust their trajectory without any human intervention. And the company that doesn't do this will be at a disadvantage. The organizers have created a direct penalty. Remotely controlled robots will have their time multiplied by 1.2. In practice, this forces the industry to abandon remote control and evolve toward machines that understand the environment. The challenge isn't simple, even if it seems that way. Each robot needs to complete the 21 kilometer in a single attempt, maintaining balance, energy efficiency, and mechanical stability throughout the entire course. In addition, all competitors will be monitored in real time by a satellite navigation system. That way, it will ensure absolute control of the race. But the race is only part of the experiment. Before it, a second event will test something even more complex: the real usefulness of these robots. A circuit with multiple obstacles will simulate real-world scenarios, such as industrial environments and rescue situations. The idea is simple. It's not enough to walk, it's not enough to run. The robot needs to actually work. And this is directly connected to a new concept that is starting to emerge in robotics. The moment when these machines go from being technological demonstrations to actually becoming useful. And behind all of this, there's money, a lot of money. The Chinese government established a fund of over $14 billion focused on the industry of the future, particularly robotics. In recent months, billions have been invested in companies in the sector, and results are already visible. China was responsible for more than 80% of humanoid robot installations worldwide in recent years. And companies have even changed their strategies. They moved away from flashy demonstrations like dances and acrobatic movements and started focusing on mass production and real-world applications. The race, therefore, isn't about speed. It's about who is closer to creating robots. Robots that will actually work in the real world. Because when a machine can walk and run for miles, as well as avoid obstacles and make decisions on its own, it stops being just an experiment. It starts to become a tool, and maybe that's what has attracted the most attention. While many people still see humanoid robots as something distant, there are scenarios where they are being tested right now in real conditions, learning to move, to adapt, and most importantly, to operate without humans. And while hundreds of humanoid robots run for kilometers and make decisions on their own, some of them are no longer just being tested. They are already working.
Dá uma focada nisso aqui, ó.
And a humanoid robot already known to all of us here at Incredible Reality called Digit is already doing real work inside a Schaefer factory in the United States. It's not in testing, okay? It's actually in daily operation. And this marks a silent but extremely significant turning point. Digit is responsible for a simple, repetitive, and essential task: transporting baskets weighing several kilos with industrial components, taking parts from a press to a washing station. The robot works about 8 hours a day, working in shifts with breaks only for recharging. And the most interesting thing isn't the task itself, but what it represents, because this kind of work has always been done by us humans. The company says the employee who did this job has been moved to a more specialized role. It's the inspection of these robots. In other words, in this case, at least for now, the robot hasn't just replaced a single task. It has redefined the role of the human worker. And when we look at the numbers, the change becomes even clearer. Today, the operational cost of Digit ranges between $10 and $25 per hour, which is practically equivalent to or even lower than the starting human wage in those factories, which is around $20 per hour. But according to Agility itself, this cost could drop drastically, reaching just $2 or $3 per hour. And this is where the equation changes completely. Because when a machine can perform physical tasks with a lot of consistency, without fatigue, and at a reduced cost, it stops being just an innovation and becomes an inevitable economic decision for companies. For now, Digit still operates within an isolated area, surrounded by a safety structure. But this is also about to change. The next generation of these robots, which is expected to be released later this year, should include advanced sensors capable of detecting humans in real time. Which is expected to be released will include advanced features, but also its own problems. Which is expected to be released this year should include advanced sensors capable of detecting, but also its own problems. What is expected to be released should include advanced sensors capable of detecting, but also its own problems. What is expected to be released should include advanced sensors, including China, Europe, and other emerging startups. In addition, Schaefer itself manufactures essential components of these machines, such as actuators, positioning itself not only as a user of these machines, but also as part of the infrastructure of the new industrial era. This reveals something bigger. The industry is no longer just discussing whether humanoid robots will work. That phase passed quite a while ago. Now the question is different. How can this be scaled? And how quickly will it replace repetitive human labor? Because while many people still see humanoid robots as something distant, my friends, they're already working. Stay sharp. Quietly, they're repeating movements and learning our patterns. Gradually, they're taking on roles that have always been ours as humans. But not all advances in robotics are focused on creating complete machines. Sometimes, the most important breakthroughs are about mastering something much more specific and much more difficult. Pay attention to this next segment here and you'll understand what I mean. A startup called Kyber Labs presented a new demonstration that could completely change automation in medical laboratories. Instead of building an entire robot, they focused on something much more specific and much more difficult, which is the robotic hand capable of manipulating objects with extreme precision. In practice, the system has already performed real laboratory tasks, pipetting liquids, opening microcentrifuge tubes, operating equipment like shakers, for example, simple things. Simple for humans, but extremely complex for these machines. The reason is clear: laboratories weren't made for them. The whole environment was designed for us, for human hands, from the ergonomics of pipettes to the strength of plastic tubes that require both force and control at the same time. And this is exactly where this technology stands out. Kyber's hand has 20 degrees of freedom, allowing for very fine movements and complex coordination, as well as real-time adaptation. It doesn't just use strength, it replicates dexterity. But what really sets this system apart isn't the hardware, it's the software. While much of the industry bets on massive artificial intelligence models that try to learn everything at once, Kyber took a somewhat different path. It breaks down each task into small independent actions: picking up a pipette, twisting a cap, moving a holder, and then chains these actions together in a controlled flow. And this brings 3 critical advantages. First, traceability. Each step can be recorded and validated, which is essential in clinical environments. Second, control. A human operator can adjust or remove parts of the process with precision. And third, efficiency. The system can run directly on the device itself, without relying on a constant connection to the cloud. In other words, less latency and more reliability. And this solves a real problem. Laboratories around the world are already facing a shortage of labor. Even so, they use expensive equipment designed exclusively for manual use by humans, at least for now. And automating this environment has always been difficult precisely because of that. The costs are very high, and only well-trained humans could operate them. But now, instead of adapting entire laboratories for robots, it's the robots that are being adapted to the laboratory, which, according to them, is much less costly. And when robotics starts to solve tasks with this level of precision, another question arises. Yes, I'm going to ask one more question. This is important. It makes us think. Instead of copying us humans, what if these machines started copying nature itself? Other beings as well. Let's get into that now. Researchers from the United States have created a drone the size of a palm that is capable of navigating in very extreme environments, such as through smoke, fog, and total darkness. It does this using ultrasound and artificial intelligence. It was directly inspired by bats. Instead of relying on cameras, radars, or LiDAR, this drone uses 2 small ultrasonic sensors to listen to the environment around it. Currently, it emits sound waves and interprets the returning echo, identifying obstacles, distances, and possible paths. And all of this with a very important detail: almost no processing is required. While traditional drones rely on heavy, expensive systems that consume a lot of energy, this new model was designed to be lightweight, efficient, and independent. The result is a much simpler system, but surprisingly functional, okay? The drone is about 15 centimeters wide, weighs approximately half a kilo, and is designed to solve one of the main problems of this type of navigation: the noise from its own propellers. The researchers included an acoustic shield that allows the drone to, once again, quote-unquote, listen to the echoes from the environment much more clearly. This is where artificial intelligence comes in. The system was trained with deep learning to recognize subtle echo patterns, interpreting this information in a way similar to bat echolocation. In practice, the drone doesn't see the environment. It hears it and makes decisions in real time. The drone was able to navigate autonomously in environments filled with obstacles, both outdoors and in laboratories with complex scenarios. And this idea of learning from nature isn't just happening in laboratories or advanced research. It's already being applied in places that hardly anyone imagines. Let's check it out now. For centuries, livestock farming has always depended on one basic thing: fences. Wood, trees, wire, kilometers of physical barriers separating the herd from places that aren't meant for them. But this could be coming to an end. A startup called Rooter is replacing real fences with something completely invisible that's controlled by artificial intelligence. The idea is each animal gets a smart collar with GPS, powered by solar energy and connected to an app. Instead of building fences, the farmer now simply draws the virtual boundaries on a digital map, and the herd magically stays within them. When the animal approaches the invisible boundary, the collar emits sound signals and directional vibrations, gradually guiding its movement. If the animal insists on moving forward, a light electric pulse is applied. It's much weaker than those used in traditional electric fences. In practice, the entire field becomes programmable. The producer can now move hundreds of animals with a single simple touch on the screen, directing the herd to new grazing areas or to the barn. All of this without any effort. And it works like this for producers. Instead of investing thousands in fences, maintenance, and labor, the producer only pays a monthly subscription. And with that, he gains total real-time control over his herd. And when I'm creating this content for you here, I keep thinking and imagining the scenarios. And even though I'm a technology enthusiast, as you can tell, it's impossible not to imagine this technology being used on criminals rather than in prisons. I'll let you use your imagination and share your theories in the comments. The comments section really helps. If you enjoyed this episode, you know what to do. Leave a like and check that you're subscribed. Thank you for sticking with me until now. Thank you once again. You always make it to the end of the videos, and that helps a lot. Click one of the 2 suggestions on your screen, and I'll see you in the next one. It's quick. See you there. Bye-bye.